Hello, welcome to SEM Tutorials. Today we'll be doing an exercise known as questions and answers, powered by SEM. So the question goes like, a country's production possibility for two goods, X and Y, can be described by the following equations. X squared plus Y squared is equals to 16, where X, Y are greater than 0. Study it carefully and respond to the following. A. Sketch the PPF. B. Determine the slope of the PPF and evaluate it at the point where x is equals to 10 and y is equals to 5. What does this mean? Does the functional form of the PPF show constant, decreasing, or increasing opportunity cost? How did you know? That's the C. So we will start by sketching our PPF as said by the A. Now, how do you sketch PPF? Before you sketch a graph, you know PPF is a graphical representation of two goods that a country is able to produce using the available resources. The maximum of the two goods that a country is able to produce using the available resources per given period of time. So PPF is a graph. So for you to sketch a graph, first you need to know the intercepts of the variables in the equation. So here we have two variables, we have x and y. You need to know the intercepts of x and y. And how do you solve for the intercept? You solve for intercepts by, now how do you solve for the intercept? You solve for the intercept by putting one variable into 0 to find the other variable, and you put the variable that you just found also into 0 to find the other variable. So this, we are going to put x into 0. How do we put x into 0? We make it x equal to 0. Then we put, since x is equal to 0, we put x into the equation so that we can find the variable y. So our x is now equal to 0. Then our y, we have our y to be y, we have our x is equal to 0. So our equation now becomes 0 plus y squared is equals to 16. We are finding y. So how do we find y? You know y squared is equals to 16 because 0 means nothing. So how do you find y? You find y by square rooting both sides to get the value of. So we square root both sides and we get square root y squared is equals to um square root of 16. That's square rooting both sides. And our y now becomes so the the square will cancel the the square root. So it will be left with only y. Then our y now becomes 4. That's square root of 16 is 4. So this will be the intercept for y. Then how do you find for the intercept of x? You put y into 0. So you find the intercept for x. You put y into 0. Sorry, x into 0. Then you solve for it. So our x becomes 0. Then we are finding for y. So you put y into 0. So our y becomes 0. Then what is our equation? So since our y is 0, it's going to be x squared. Since our y is equal to 0, it's going to be x squared plus 0. That's our y equals 16. Yeah. So basically 0 means nothing. So x squared is equals to 16. we square root both sides to find x. And how do you square root? So you square root both sides. That's square root of x squared is equal to square root of 16. And you know square root of x squared, the square cancels the roots. So it will be left with x, and to be equal to what? Square root of 16 is 4. So when our y equals 0, our x was 4, and and when our x was 0, our y was 4. So that's the intercept. So you're going to use this to plot the curve for us to get the a solved. So there is it. We are going to plot the curve. Since our y is here on the vertical axis, you write your y, you write your x, then your vertical line and the horizontal line. Y, we calculated when x was 0, y was 4, so we write our 4 here. Then our x was let me um extend this. Let me extend this line. The space is really small, so let me extend this line. So extending the line, it goes like this. So I have my x here. So when y was 0, my x was what? 4. Basically, you see they are of what? The same size. So you just have to what? Plot. You just have to plot. Give it a straight line. Yeah. So this is our PPF. So we give it a straight line depicting that the opportunity cost of producing 1 unit of x will be what? Will be the same as producing 1 unit of y. Basically, finding the opportunity cost, you find the opportunity cost by having the you find the ratios of the variable x over y, and when you do, you get what? You get 1, depicting that each unit of a good that will be produced, there is going to be 1 unit sacrifice, 1 unit sacrifice of that good. So if I want to produce 1 unit of y, I'm going to sacrifice y. If I'm going to produce 2 units of y, I'm to sacrifice 1. So you see it is constant on any amount of good that you produce. You just have to sacrifice the same amount of good that you sacrificed earlier. So that's how we come about our sketch the PPF for sketch the PPF. That's our aim. So let's move on to B. B is determine the slope of the PPF and evaluate it at the point where x is equals to 10 and y is equals to 5. What does this mean? So B is basically the question was asking us to find the slope of the was asked to calculate the slope, that's determine the general slope. So we are going to determine the general slope. How do we determine the general slope? We have the equation like this. So how do we determine the general slope? By differentiating the equation, because for us to find the gradient, that's changing y over changing x, we have to, this is equation, so we have, for us to find the change in y in respect to the change in x, we have to make the y the subject. In making the y the subject, we'll be able to find the change in y in respect to the change in what? X. As you already know, gradient is going to change in y over change in what? X. That's this gradient equal to we have gradient equal to change in y over change in x. So here, what I was basically saying is that because we have equation, because we were given equation, you have to really find in respect to what, you really find the change in respect to x. That's to make the y the subject, so that you can find the change in y in respect to x, so that we'll get what our gradient formula. And how do we find in respect to x? By making the y the subject. That's where we are going to use differentiation. So we are going to differentiate the equation in respect to x. That's having dy over dx. That's dy over dx. That's to change it in respect to change it to change it in respect to change it in respect to sorry. That's to change it in respect to y. So yeah, I just want to um I just want to make let me make a circle out of the equation, so that you will sorry, out of the formula, so that you will know which one I'm talking about. So I'm talking about the one in the circle. Change in y over change in x. That's dy over dx. We are bringing the y in place of the triangle here, which means the change, because it is the change that we are going to find from the equation given. This one is just when you are being given 2 points. That's where you have y2 minus y1. But that's this one, the triangle. It's whereby you are given 2 points. That's where you have y2 minus y1. But with the change that we are talking about the change of the equation. Therefore, we are going to use this. Yeah. So we are not going to use this because we haven't been given 2 points. So because we have been given equation, we are going to use the y over the x as our change in y over change in x. Now let's go. How do we find um the y over the x? We find the y over the x by making the y the subject. So we find it by making the y the subject. That's so that's to make y the subject. We have to cross the you have to make you have to make x cross the equal sign. So while x crosses the equal sign, it becomes negative. Then our 16 is already here, so negative of 16 x squared. So that's it. That's how we we we, we we find we make the y the subject. So how do we want y, we don't want y squared, so you have to square root both sides, so that you can take off the sorry square root both sides, so that you can take off the so you have to square root both sides, so that you can um let go the squared or the exponent of y. So here to you will have to square root it. So my square root of x is here, so there is it. So um yeah, let me make it in a way that this thing will be in bracket, to let you know that all of this, I'm square rooting all of this what's in the bracket. Yeah, so there is it. So now that we have square root both sides, you have to know that our y, this the root here, the exponent of y will cancel the root here, so our y will stand on its own. So our y will be equal to our y will be equal to y, then y equal to square root of 16 minus x squared is going to be like this, square root of 16 minus x squared. So basically, when you have this, it means you have found the thing in respect to what? or you have found the thing, you have found the sorry, y as a subject. So that we are not done. We are not done. Put this y somewhere. Our y is equals to square root of blah blah blah. Let us put it somewhere. So let us come here. Let us put our y here. Our y is equals to square root of 16 minus x squared. Square root of 16 minus x squared. We are putting it here. So we are putting our y here. Our y is equals to 16 minus x. We are putting our y, that's y is equals to square root of 16 minus x squared. Yeah. Now, let us solve our dy dx, our dy dx, which is also equal to derivative of y. We are finding derivative of y because this derivative of y, this thing that I've written here, derivative of y is the same as dy. This y prime is the same as dy over dx. Now, so let's find our dy over dx, which is square root of square root of 16 minus minus x squared. 16 minus x squared. So where's our x? X squared. So x squared. 16 minus x squared. So this is it. This is how it's going to be. So our derivative of y is equal to um root of square root of 16. Square roots. Square root can also be written as um 16. Sorry, 16 minus that's x. Sorry, my x should be capital X. Then bring my squared x squared raised to the power all on all on one divide all on one dividing two. So that is it. All on half, that's 1 over 2. So half is the same as 0.5. So all on 0.5. Now you have to find the differentiation. So this, the raised to the power 0.5 is affecting everything. So for you to find the differentiation of this, you have to use change rule formula to find the differentiation of them. That's change rule. That's you differentiate the bracket first, then after that come and differentiate the one that it is respecting to. So with this one, it is respecting to x. That's it is respecting to x. So this one it is in respect to x. That's this x. Yeah, it is in respect to this x. So for you to solve for the change rule differentiation, you will have to first differentiate the bracket first. After differentiating the bracket, then you differentiate the x that you see here. You differentiate the x. How do you differentiate? In differentiating, the power multiplies the coefficients of the bracket, and when it multiplies the coefficients, then you subtract 1 from the power. So this one that we are differentiating the bracket first, we will make it multiply the bracket first. We'll make the power, that's 0.5, to multiply the bracket first, and after that we subtract 1 from the bracket. Then we'll multiply it by the differentiation of the one that we are differentiating in respect to, that's the x. So this is how change rule goes. Like, so when you have a bracket having power in which the power is affecting everything in the bracket, and you have the one that you are differentiating inside the bracket. You have to apply the change rule. That's use the one at the power to multiply the coefficients of the bracket. You subtract one from the power, then you multiply by the actual differentiation that you are finding it in respect to. That's the x. So here, we are going to take it one by one and do. First, we have to find the differentiation of, you have to say prime, which is equals to yeah, differentiation. I say we are differentiating the bracket first. So 0.5 times, in front of the bracket, the coefficient of the bracket is 1. So 0.5 times, you multiply it by 1. So 0.5 times 1. So 0.5 times 1. Then your bracket comes. You bring everything in the bracket. That's or x is capital. So capital X. Then s is squared. Capital X squared. So there is it. Bring everything. Then you will have to subtract, since you use the we are differentiating the bracket, you multiply the power by the coefficients of the bracket, then we subtract 1 from the power, so which is what, 0.5. The power is 0.5, then we subtract 1 from it, like this. Yeah, so this is how you're supposed to be. This is how you're supposed to be. Then we multiply the whole of the equation. Multiply the whole of the equation by so we are going to multiply the whole of everything that we have written to. Now, after differentiation, so this one means we are done with the differentiation of the bracket. So it means differentiated our brackets, we use the power to multiply the coefficients of the bracket, then we subtracted 1 from the power. So everything here is the differentiation of the bracket. Then we will have to multiply with the differentiation of what, the x. So the x is what, negative x squared. Now, how do we differentiate negative x squared? We have to differentiate negative x squared and multiply by this, so that we will get our what, differentiation of the equation. So our next step is towards differentiating the x, because it is in respect to the x. It is in respect to the x. So now, how do you differentiate x? We differentiate x by you multiplying the power by the coefficient. So the coefficient is what, -1. So it will be -1 times the power of x is 2. Then into brackets, I'm bringing brackets because the x is multiplying the -1. So you use the power to multiply the coefficient. Then you subtract 1 from the power. So our x is already raised to the power 2, then subtract 1 from it. So here, with this, we have gotten our differentiation. So our derivative of y now becomes, in number times 1 is the same number, so it now becomes 0.5. Then we bring our brackets into bracket, 16 minus x squared, 16 minus x squared, 50 minus x squared. Then there's a square, 0.5 minus 1, it becomes negative 0.5. So there is a simplification of it. We are just simplifying it, and we come to this one to it says -1 times. So we bring our bracket showing it is multiplying. So negative 1 times 2, it will be -2. Then our x, bring our x is what, x is our x is raising to the power, our x is raising to the power what, 2 minus 1, so it's about 1. Any number is raised to the power 1, so since x is raised to the power 1, it stands on its own, and we don't have to write the power 1. So this is the simplification of this. And here we have to apply the law of indices. We want to eliminate the negative exponent. That's this. We want to eliminate the negative exponent. How do we eliminate the negative exponent? By applying the law of indices. That's, you know, when you are applying the law of indices, you find the reciprocal of it, and 0.5 into bracket 60 minus s squared raised to the power negative 0.5, we assume it all to be over. So 0.5 times 1 all on, as I said, you are finding its reciprocal. So 16 minus x squared. Now the 0.5 will be what? Positive, because of what we did then, times in our negative 2x. So there is it. So dy over dx is equals to this. So as we have done it here, let me write the zero. Let me write the zero. Um, the 0.5 is positive. 0.5 is positive. As I told you to keep this down, I said y was supposed to be equal to as I said earlier on while writing it, I said let your y be equal to y is supposed to square root of 16 minus s squared. So since we know our y, you know our y is the same as 16 minus is the same as y is supposed to into bracket 16 minus x squared all over 0.5. You know is the same as this. Yeah, so we are going to insert 16 minus x squared all over 0.5 into our final work of the differentiation. Then we find the gradient, or we find the slope of the equation. So since we know our y to be this, we have to substitute the y into the equation. We have 0.5 times 1 on 16 minus s squared all over 0.5 times negative 2x times negative 2x. So this is what we had. This is the power was negative, so we find it reciprocal. We made the denominator of 16 minus s squared, which is 1, to come up, so that 16 minus s squared will come down to get the power to be positive. And we have this is our differentiation of x times negative 2x, and this is the 0.5 that we had it to be multiplying 16 minus x squared all over 0.5. Yeah. So we get it to be this, but we already know our y is equals to 16 minus x squared all over 0.5. So yeah, we already know it. We already know this is our y. This is our y. So we have to substitute the y into the equation. We have to substitute this y. You see, y is equals to square root of 60 minus s squared will be the same as y equal to 60 minus s squared raised to the power 0.5. So where we see 60 minus s squared raised to the power 0.5, it is equal to our y. So we'll insert our y in. So this is where we see 60 minus s squared raised to the power 0.5. So we are going to insert our y in, and inserting our y in means here becomes our y. So everything here will be equal to our y. Then we write our y here. Our y here. Sorry. Write our y here. So this is our y. This is our y. Oh, oops. Very bad. So this is our y. We insert it at where we saw 60 minus x squared raised to power 0.5. And this is simple, what do you call, math that you can do. It's multiplication. So what do? You have to multiply everything at the numerator. So 0.5 times 1 times negative 2x. So what do you get? 0.5 times 1. Any number times 1 is the same as the same number. So basically this is same as 0.5. Then 0.5 times negative 2x. Half of negative 2x is what? Negative 1. So it's about negative what? X. So everything here at the top, when you, or you can punch it on your calculator, negative 0.5 times 1 times negative 2, it will give you negative 1. Then you multiply it by x, which will make it what? Negative x. So everything here will be equal to negative x. So at the top will be, so negative, write our negative x. Oh, oh, write our negative x. So this is our slope. This is our slope for the equation. This is our slope. And in the question they said find it at find. So in the question they say we should determine the slope of the PPF and evaluate it at the point where x is equals to 10 and y is equals to 5. So we are evaluating it at a point where x is equals to 10 and y is equals to what? 5. So there is it. This is what we were told to solve for. Determine the slope at a point where x is equals to 10 and y is equals to 5. What does it mean? So we have to solve for that. Since we have our gradient now, we are going to just insert s value and the y value to know what it actually means. So this is our gradient. So negative x over y. When you have negative x over y, what it means is that um what it means is that the opportunity. So what this means is that the opportunity cost of increasing 1 unit of x is going to be um you decreasing, or you giving up 1 unit of what? Y. So whenever you are increasing 1 unit of x, you have to give up 1 unit of y. So let's put in the variable s is equals to 10, then y is equals to 5. So um the final answer now becomes -2. This means that the opportunity cost of increasing x units by 10 is sacrificing us twice the number of y, which is what? Which is 10. So y, we were given 5 as y. So if you are to ask to produce 10 or increase the number of x by 10, then it means your gradient, which is what? Which is 2, you are going to what? Multiply it by what? By the number of y that you were given. And that will be the amount of y that you are going to what? You are going to sacrifice. So the opportunity cost of you um producing 10 units of x is you sacrificing twice as y. That's, we have it twice as y because when we inserted it in our gradient formula, we had -2, which is telling us that on any unit of y, on any unit of x that you put, on any unit of y that you produce, you have to forgo 2 units. On any unit of, and on any unit that you produce, you have to forgo 2 units. So if we are we are we are we are producing 10 of x, and 10 of x we produce 5, and the opportunity cost is that. So what this means is that the opportunity cost of increasing 1 unit of x is going to be um you decreasing, or you giving up 1 unit of what? Y. So whenever you are increasing 1 unit of x, you have to give up 1 unit of y. So let's put in the variable x is equals to 10, then y is equals to 5. So um the final answer now becomes -2. This means that the opportunity cost of increasing x units by 10 is sacrificing us twice the number of y, which is what? Which is 10. So y we were given 5 as y. So if you are to ask to produce 10 or increase the number of x by 10, then it means your gradient, which is what? Which is 2, you are going to what? Multiply it by what? By the number of y that you were given. And that will be the amount of y that you are going to what? You are going to sacrifice. So the opportunity cost of you um producing 10 units of X is you sacrificing twice as Y. That's we have it twice as Y because when we inserted it in our gradient formula, we had -2, which is telling us that on any unit of Y, on any unit of X that you put on any unit of Y that you produce, you have to forgo 2 units. On any unit that you produce, you have to forgo 2 units. So if we are we are we are we are producing 10 of x, and 10 of x we produce 5 to forgo 2 units of the other, then since we are producing 10, we are going to what? Forgo twice the number of y, which is what? 5. So we are going to forgo 2 -2 times 5, which is what? Which is negative what? 10. -10 means we are sacrificing 10 to produce what? 10 units of what? X. We are sacrificing 10 to produce 10 units of X. This is as simple as that. So whenever you are being asked to explain this, what you have to do is to just what? Just say that when you have been asked to produce, let's say S is 20, when you are being asked to produce, or let me pick what the book gave you, S is 10. When you are being asked to produce 10 units of X, the opportunity cost is you foregoing twice as the number of what? Y, which is what? 10. And when you are being asked to produce, let's say 5 units of Y, the opportunity cost will be um twice as the number of the units of X that you are being taxed, or you are being asked to what? To produce. So this is just simple. For opportunity cost of producing Y, 5 units of Y will be twice as X. That's 2 times what? The gradient. That's the -2, which is equal to what? -20. That means you are sacrificing what? -20. Then the opportunity cost of you producing X, 10 units of X, that will be what? That will be twice as Y. So that's 5 times -2, which is what? -10. So -10 means you are sacrificing 10. So this is how we interpret this. Let's go to the next question. We says that. So our next question is, does the functional form of the PPF show constant, decreasing, or increasing opportunity cost? How did you know? So after we are done with the gradients, when we solve the gradients, you see we had um um change the y on the x being equal to -x over y, of which I interpreted it as um, when you are being asked to increase 1 unit of x, it means you are going to sacrifice 1 unit of y. And when you are being asked to increase 1 unit of y, it means you are going to sacrifice 1 unit of x. So on any production that you made, or on any increase that you made, there's going to be a sacrifice of what? 1 unit, which makes it seem as constant opportunity cost. On already, mind you, our our curve our curve that we drew from the equation You see, we had a straight line which depicted what constant opportunity cost. We had a straight line which depicted constant opportunity cost, and year two, per what we have learned already, you know, producing one, you are sacrificing one unit of the other. So it's constant. It follows. When you are producing X, you have to sacrifice one unit of Y. When you are producing Y, you have to sacrifice Y units of X. So this makes it what constant, because um the opportunity cost of increasing Y, the constant cost exists. The reason is that for every one more unit of X to be gained, one unit of Y must be sacrificed. That's it. That's the meaning. So thank you all. Um, it's been a difficult work for me as applying. This is my first time of using this app. So with time I will just get adjusted to it and we'll have it flowing smoothly. So let's manage this for a while, and then on our next tutorial I'll try to learn um learn very hard on how to use these features, so that we have our next tutorial, everything that I will solve will be what will be in line. So when you are watching and you don't understand something, just afterwards go back and rewatch it again for you to get the understanding. I hope you will do it, and I'll be hoping to get the feedback. Don't forget to subscribe it, to touch on the subscribe bell and subscribe, so that on every video, on any video that we will post, you'll be able to you'll be notified, and you can watch the video so that you will get the understanding of what we are doing. I'm off. Thanks.